right, graphing linear equations. That is going to be page 40 in your notes. First, it says, describe in the table below how you would create a graph of a given equation in each form. So last week we spent different ways trying to figure or learning how to graph using different methods, okay? Just like we learned how to find the slope using slope formula and then also rise over run when we have a graph, we learned different methods to graph lines. So with slope-intercept form, this is an equation. How do you recognize that it is in slope-intercept form? That is slope-intercept form, but how can you tell personally that it's an equation written in slope-intercept form?
The x and y are separated.
X and y are separated, and y is what? By itself. It's a y equals equation. It's an equation that is already solved, okay? Solved, ed, past tense. Y is already by itself. So when an equation is already solved, how would you graph it? You, step one, plot what? The y-intercept, because the y-intercept is called the what? Starting point. Should put start PT, start point, okay? Now, step two, after that, you're going to use slope to find more points. Use slope to find more points, okay? What variable do we use for slope?
X. Wait.
In y is equal to mx plus b, in that formula, which one is slope? M.
Oh.
Okay, so let's say, for example, the slope is positive. Let's say it's positive. It's a positive number. Let's just say 2/3. To use the slope, what direction would we go in?
Up. And
The top number is always up, and then what?
To the right.
To the right. Because the fraction is positive, you go to the right. Now, let's say it's negative 2/3. Okay. Top number, which direction are you going to go?
up.
Always up. But because this one is negative, we go to the left. Top number, always rise. Rise over run. Rise over run. In case you forgot that, you can write that to the side. Rise over run. Okay? Rise over run. Now, an equation in point-slope form. You can solve it for it to become slope-intercept form, but you can also graph while it is still in point-slope form. Okay? Not solved. The first step would be to, what information can you get from point-slope form? From an equation written this way.
Slope.
You can get the slope. What else can you get?
Your point.
A point. There should be a point there. The point, you get it from the y and the x value, right? So the first thing you want to do is plot the point. Plot that 1 point. Now keep in mind, once as always, the minus sign is already part of the formula, so you have to use the opposite sign. Anything if in the equation it's -1, -2, remember that means that you plugged in a positive number, so you have to use the opposite sign. Use opposite sign from the equation. Meaning if there's a +1, technically you plugged in a negative number into the equation, okay? After that, step number 2 is the same. You're going to use the slope to find more points. Is there somebody at the door? No. Standard form. How do you recognize standard form?
X and
X and Y are on the same side.
X and Y are on the same side. Very, very good. Now, with standard form, there's two different ways that we learned how to graph an equation in standard form. Two different ways. Okay, what's one of them? How would you graph it? What way do you see? There's two right answers, so take a guess. How would you graph an equation where X and Y are on the same side? Solve. Okay, so that's one of them. You want to solve for Y. When you solve for Y, your equation becomes what? Slope-intercept. So from there, you're going to use slope and the y-intercept. Now, we spent a whole day on the second part. On the second method. This isn't a 1 and 2 step. This is a 1, or you can use the second one. You can use the second way. What did we do last week? We worked with standard form.
Slope intercept.
Replace X and Y.
Oh man, I used the wrong
Calculate 84.
calculate 84. No, I used the wrong calendar.
Oh wait, I have that.
Oh.
That was last week's calendar.
Applying point slope form.
Are we supposed to be looking at that, or put it in our reminder?
What's up?
Finding X and Y intercepts.
You can do it by finding the X and the Y intercepts. I updated your calendar off of the math calendar, so I kind of
Wait, so
did it
our
wrong.
calendar's wrong? Did I just write that?
No, what you wrote down is still
she's
fine.
showing us-
Yeah.
Oh.
So you can graph a line by finding the X and the Y intercept. By finding the X and the Y intercept. Okay? If it's in standard form, there's two different ways to graph it. First, you solve for Y, and then do what we wrote down in the first box. Or you can solve for the X and the Y intercept. Okay? If it's an X intercept, where are you going to put the 0?
With the Y.
Where the Y is. Okay? If it's a Y intercept, where are you going to put the 0?
At the X.
Yeah, you're going to replace the X with 0 and solve. Okay? So keep those in mind. So apply your knowledge of linear equations to answer the questions and create a graph of each given equation or description in numbers 1 through 5. Okay? Questions can be answered in any order. Look at number 1. What kind of, what form is this equation written in?
Slope intercept form.
Slope-intercept form. Since it is written in slope-intercept form, which one of the three methods that we wrote at the top are we going to use? First box, second box, or last?
The first one.
The first one. Okay. Now, what we can tell certain information from slope-intercept form. What does it give us?
The slope.
It gives us a slope, so we can go ahead and write down what the slope is. What is the slope?
1/4.
1/4. What else does it tell us?
Your
y-intercept.
Yep. What is the y-intercept?
-3.
-3. Okay. Now, between the slope and the y-intercept, which one do you plot first?
The Y.
The -3. Yeah. Step number 1 is to plot the y-intercept. So, y-intercept, put it on the y-axis. You're going to put a point on the -3 on the y-axis. And then you're going to use the slope, okay? Now, because the fraction is positive, what directions are we going to go?
Up and right.
Up to the right. Very, very good. Okay? So, if we go up one box, right 4, what point do we end up at?
-2.
Or -2.
4 negative.
4, -2. If we keep going, where do we end up at?
8, -1.
8, -1.
Okay? What if we go one more?
You can't.
8,
You
11.
can't.
Oh,
So we
11.
go to the
Wait.
down.
But yes, you end up at 11 what?
11 -1.
11.
No, 11 0.
11 0. Yeah. 11 0. No, not 11 0.
Well,
12. 12 0.
No.
Yeah, this is 12 0. I'm going to write that down. Yeah, because 11 is the very end of the graph and we're 1 off of the very end. Okay. Let's say we go the other way. Opposite of up to the right is down to the left. So where do we end up?
We
Negative 4, negative 4.
-4, -4. Then -8, negative.
Negative 5.
Yeah, that's good enough. Okay.
Alright.
So let's write that. Connect your line or connect your points. Draw that line. Make sure that line goes all the way through the graph, not just part of it. Okay. Next box says, what is 0? 0 is another word for the
X-intercept.
x-intercept. It says it right there. Okay. Just in case you needed that reminder. They're not asking for the number 0. They're asking what the x-intercept is. Just like the y-intercept is also called the
Y-intercept.
starting point. Very good. Now, we already said, we already figured out that the x-intercept is what? 12, 0. But we can, let's say the x-intercept is a number that's far, far away from the graph and we can't see it on the graph. What can we do to find it? How do we solve for the x-intercept?
Replace Y with 0.
Replace the y with the 0.
Interruption. I thought just arrived by 14, so whoever absent that counts from that bus, please don't count an absent or guardian 6-year attendance. Thank you.
Dang, somebody woke up late. So we're going to replace the y with the 0 and solve. 1 over 4x minus 3. The equation does not have to be in standard form for us to be able to solve for x. We replace y with the 0 because our y value is 0.
Hold on.
And we solve. So if we're solving for x in this equation, what's my first move? How do we need to move the numbers away from x. Which number would you move?
3.
Oh,
The 3.
Add
Negative 3.
Add the 3.
The minus 3 changes to a plus 3. 0 plus 3 is
3.
3. And how do you get rid of a fraction? Let's see if y'all remember. Multiply. Fractions. In case you forget that fractions represent division, a fraction looks like a division sign, but with numbers. Okay? All right, so the opposite of dividing is to multiply, but we're going to multiply by a very specific number. What is it called?
0, 1.
2, 3, 4.
It's a word. It's a word.
X. Y.
How do you get rid of fractions? Multiplying by the
Reciprocal.
reciprocal. And what is the reciprocal of 1 over 4? 4 over 1. Reciprocal means just to flip that fraction. Okay, and you get x equals
Oh, wait.
12.
Wait, X equals 12.
Yep. So that is your x-intercept. It crosses at the number 12.
We already knew that.
Now, yeah, we were able to find that x-intercept by continuing to plot points, but just as a reminder, you can also solve for the x-intercept, okay? 2 different ways. Now, will 18 1.5 lie on the line? Yes or no? How can we tell?
Graph it.
If you graph, like if
You can't because if you
replace
solve
X and
it.
Y with the numbers.
You can't graph it because it's way too far from the graph. How do we solve?
You replace X and Y. With
You replace both points. You replace both numbers. We have an equation. That equation is y is equal to 1/4 x minus 3.
1.5.
You can replace the y with the 1.5. You can replace x with the number 18 and solve. 1.5 equals, yes. Yes, you can put the whole right side of the equation into the calculator. And you get 1.5 is equal to
3 over 2.
That's what it gave you? Okay. I mean, yep, that's what I got. I got 3 over 2. Are they equal?
No, they're not equal. Wait.
What is 3 over 2 as a decimal? 3 over 2 as a decimal is 1.5. So, since they are equal, yes, yes, that point does belong to that equation. That point will lie on that line. All that stuff. We're just applying things that we learned last week. Very, very good. Good job. Number 2. Number 2. This equation is written in what form?
Point slope form.
How do you recognize point slope form?
You can, it shows your X
Y.
and Y.
Just look at the equation, bro.
What do you guys see that lets you
X and your
know?
Y point.
Uh-huh, what else?
Your slope too.
Oh wait, this one.
What's different about this, the way this one's written and everything else?
It gives you your slope.
It gives me
and
X.
your 2 points.
You see what?
4.
You see,
Parentheses.
you see parentheses. You don't see parentheses in any of the other equations. Okay? Now, you can identify the slope here. What is the slope?
-5.
Very good.
Oh wait.
-5. But since we need that -5 in its fraction form, what do we do to change it to a fraction? Good. Can you tell me what the y-intercept is from here?
No. No.
Why not?
-10 is the.
Somebody said not yet. Why not?
It's because it doesn't have the y-intercept.
Correct. Point slope form doesn't have the y-intercept. The variable for the y-intercept is what? B. Do you see a B in point slope form? No. So what do we have to do? Solve it. Solve it.
Wait.
Solve for Y, right?
Correct. Solve for y, x minus 4. Now, when we're solving for y, what is our first step here? Yes, parentheses. Yes?
Distribute.
And distribute means to
Multiply.
multiply. So 5 times x, and -5 times -4?
Not positive 20.
Yes. The second step, sorry.
U minus
Get y
10.
by itself.
Get the y by itself. Move the 10 over. You combine that 10 with the 20. And 20 minus 10?
10.
Okay, now this equation is not the y-intercept. What number is the y-intercept?
10.
10.
Oh.
10.
Y equals 10.
Not y equals,
No, P equals 10.
b equals 10. Okay. Same thing, or same rules apply when we're graphing this. Which one do we graph first?
The y-intercept.
The y-intercept. So plot that 10, 0. And then we use the slope. Our slope is negative, so what direction do we need to go?
Down.
Yeah.
Left. What? Left.
Up to the left. Since we cannot go up to the left,
Down to the right.
down to the right.
1, 2,
Down 5, right 1. Where do you end up?
The next point's at
I put it on the
1,
X.
5.
1, 5, then what?
2, 0.
Good.
1, 2, 3. Oh, wait.
3, -5.
Okay.
And
Wait.
4, -10.
All right.
Wait.
I will wait. I will wait. He was just on a roll. I couldn't stop him. So 1, 5, 2, 0,
This don't look right to me.
3, -5, 4, -10.
What the?
My line is crooked.
Help.
How do you make your line so straight?
Wait.
Mine's crooked.
Because I have technology and it lets me. Yeah.
What?
I do cheat. I do cheat when I'm making that line.
Is this right?
Attacking something.
Now this is an equation written in point slope form. We could have graphed this a different way.
Oh, right, I got it.
We could have graphed the point. What point can we grab from this equation to avoid solving?
And I've been doing this a lot.
To avoid solving, what is the point that you can grab from this equation?
Like any point?
Not just any point, the point that's given here. Remember, y minus y1 equals x times.
4.
This 4 is what?
4 negative 10.
4 negative 10.
Because it's a plus.
So that means we could have plotted that point first, then gone up to the left from there.
That's what I did.
You could have done that as well. All right, what is the 0? What is the x-intercept?
2. 0. 2,
Yep.
0.
Very good. Will 422, negative 422 be on the line?
Hold on.
Mine was crooked for a second.
I don't know.
We don't know.
Wait. Yeah, we gotta solve it.
We got to solve it. We got to plug it in. Our equation is y plus 10, negative 5, x minus 4. So we replace y with what number?
Negative
22.
It's 22.
Okay.
We know.
We replace x with?
Oh, X with
Negative 4.
Yeah.
Negative 4 and 4?
No. Yes. No.
Yes.
Negative 4 minus 4. All right.
Negative 4.
Now hopefully you don't need to type in the left side of the equation. 22 plus 10 is?
32.
32.
Okay.
No.
Now the other side, I'll let you type it in. Negative 5 times negative 4 minus 4.
That is 2.75.
That's 40.
It is
What?
40.
What?
Yes, it is 40.
What is my calculator doing, bro?
I got 16.
You may,
22.
one mistake the students may make is
I put
negative, negative, negative.
I put all the.
That's
This
what I
middle
put.
one, middle, if it's a
Minus
middle, it's a
4.
minus sign.
Negative sign.
If it's in the middle of two numbers, it's a minus sign.
Bro, what is happening?
So, but is 32 equal to 40?
No.
So that means this point does not lie on the line.
False.
Bro,
False.
now I got negative.
I'm coming.
Oh, I got 40. That's
Clapper, what are you doing?
What?
Oh.
I like that the whole way.
Silly.
Can I wear these?
It's like a headband.
Can I wear them?
Parentheses because
Are those yours?
you're
Or are they my
calculating
brother's?
the order of operations and do it in the wrong
All
order.
this stuff in my blood.
Make sure you use the parentheses.
Want ice cream?
But that is something good too.
Wow, that's
So, hey guys, yes, parentheses indicate that we need to multiply, but look at what happens whenever you do times. It'll give you a whole different answer because your calculator works in order of operations. It's going to multiply. It's going to multiply the negative 5 times the negative 4 first before subtracting instead of taking care of the parentheses first. So make sure you do use the parentheses. That's a good thing to point out. All right, flip it over to the back. Number 3. This one is written in
That's standard form.
standard form. How do you recognize that?
Y and X are the same side.
Good.
Oh,
Can you tell me what the slope of this is?
I heard a pop.
Negative 27.
That's a y-intercept.
No.
You have to solve for slope, don't you?
You have to solve for y. Yeah. Solve for the slope, solve for y. 6x plus 9y equals negative 27. All right. To solve for y, what's our first step?
Oh, replace X with 0.
Minus 6.
Replacing zeros. What are we doing when we're replacing zeros? We're looking for the
I don't remember. I mean,
the x and the y intercepts. Bring down the x first. 27 already has a negative, so it's connected with the minus sign. What's the second step?
divide by 9.
Divided by 9. Now, because it creates fractions, Miss Lovelace requires us to do what with every fraction?
Simplify.
Simplify. What does negative 6 over 9 simplify to?
Thirds.
Thirds.
Negative 2/3.
And negative 27 over 9?
Negative 3.
Now, this equation is not my slope. What is the slope?
Negative
2/3.
Negative 3.
Thirds.
Oh, wait. No.
Really?
Wait, I was thinking of the wires.
All right. We still can't graph this because we first need the what?
Intercept. Y-intercept.
Which is?
-3.
Okay.
Hey, I got that one right.
-3. Go ahead and plot that y-intercept.
Okay. Okay then.
Then what is 27? Just nothing?
27 over 9 simplified to give -3. -27 divided by 9 is -3.
That's not in the equation anymore.
What are you?
She said, are we just gonna forget about it? All right. It is a negative slope, so we go
Up and left.
up to the left.
Up and left.
Where do we end up?
-6.2.
Huh?
Hmm?
It's -3. -1.
Oh wait, I put it on the X.
Wait. Up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's negative.
I'm
Yes.
gonna stop talking.
Negative
-1.
yeah.
Wait, say that again.
But it will end up at -6.1.
-1.
It does end up at -6.1.
So -6.1 is the next.
See, okay, I was right. Okay.
You were already somewhere else though. But yes.
Burr.
But it's fine. It's fine. It is okay. Alright.
Okay.
And then go ahead and go the other way.
Oh my gosh, that was such a straight line.
Up out of bed, come and sweat on.
Is that 6 -7?
Oh, my love is actually good.
What
Is it? It is.
6 -7 6 7.
I'm gonna let that slide just because it's meme day. But all right.
6 7.
What is the 0? What is the x-intercept?
We gotta solve
This
it.
backpack is killed.
We have to solve. Notice that it does not cross at a perfect point. It looks like it's -5, but it's not. So we do have to solve for the x-intercept, okay? When we solve for the x-intercept,
Wait, did we just solve it?
Wait, it's not -50?
Did we just solve it?
what number do we replace with the 0?
The
Y.
So you take 6x, bring that down, and divide.
Wait,
Pause.
Oh yeah, because I'm a little
We're
lost.
solving for the x-intercept. When you're solving for the x-intercept, you replace the y with the 0, solve for x. 9 times 0 is 0.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do we get for that?
-9/2.
-9/2. What if the STAR test gives us decimal?
well then that's okay.
What is -9/2?
You can put a decimal. It don't work. What? It don't work.
Yeah,
-4.5.
-4.5.
Yeah, -4.5.
Look. Wait, how do you make it do that?
All right. I feel like we've done plenty of examples of things like box 4, so let's move on.
Oh.
Will 1 -4 be on the line?
It don't work.
We can actually see that on the graph. 1 -4,
It will not.
it's just below the line, so we're just gonna put no.
Oh man.
Yeah, I just-
No. All right, number 4.
No.
Number 4 is telling you. Number 4 is not like they're not giving us an equation, but they're telling us how to graph it. A line with a slope of 3 that passes through -2, 6. Okay?
-3/1.
So first thing we're gonna do to graph this is what?
The
Graph
points.
-2.
The point. Graph -2, 6. -2, 6.
9/2.
Then we what? Use the slope of 3. If our slope is 3,
3/1.
okay? So what would my next point be?
-1 9.
What?
Yes.
Yes, it's correct.
Yes.
Ooh.
If we go the other direction,
-5 3.
Wait.
no, -3, 3.
Wait, what?
Negative
oh,
3
3
3.
3. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then -4 0.
-4 0. Good.
And then -5 -3.
Yeah.
1 2 3 And then -6, -6.
She's just on a roll. We're just gonna let her go.
-9, negative.
We're gonna let her go.
Okay, I'm good.
All right.
The x-intercept is -4.
Oh, my line is so bad.
The x-intercept is -4, 0, so we can go ahead and write that down.
Is
Can you tell what the y-intercept is?
11, 0.
The y-intercept is
12, 0.
6.
Wait.
12, 0.
Oh, wait, no, 0, 12.
6, 7.
Sorry, yes.
Wait. I only have 4 points.
Or b equals
I
12.
have 5.
Can you write an equation of the graph? Oh, write this equation of the graph in point slope form. They want us to use this point right here. Okay. Point slope form is what?
Y minus Y1 equals MX minus X1.
All right. So y minus what?
Y minus
6
6.
Okay.
don't
equals 3
Times x.
times X minus -2.
And because we have a minus -2,
It's a positive.
very good.
We don't have to solve, right?
If they want us to write this in slope intercept form, what does that mean?
Y equals an X
Solve
plus
it.
No.
To solve it.
Yeah.
To solve it.
No.
Now,
No.
just saving time. When you solve it, you get 3x plus 12.
Thank you.
We've done a lot of solving. Number 5. Number 5.
No.
All right. We get, so a line that passes through those 2 points. How am I going to graph this?
Graph the points.
Just graph the points. -8, 0.
Great points. Just got the point.
Just graph the points. Don't make it more difficult than it is. Okay. Ooh.
Graph.
So we already have our x.
How do you figure out the slope?
You divide. No.
Use
Do rise over run.
this
Very good. Draw your right.
Triangle?
Draw your right triangle and use
Yeah.
rise over run.
Oh, it's a negative number.
How do you know?
-1/2.
How do you know it's a negative?
Because it goes to
It's
the
going
other
to the
side.
left.
Yeah.
It's 4 negative 8, which is
It's
equal to
-1/2.
4, -8.
I got -8. Wait.
And 4 over -8 simplifies to
1/2 negative. Wait, negative what? Negative 1/2.
1/2 negative.
oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I think this lesson is killing our mind.
A little bit.
Okay, my brain. It's killing her.
1/2 negative.
I meant to say the other way around.
Yeah.
I think this
You
is
meant to say the
I-
other way around?
I think some of us had coffee this morning.
1/2
All right.
Equals the other way around.
Write an equation in point slope form. If we need an equation in point slope form, we have the slope. Which point do you want to use?
Negative 1/2.
No, which
Let's
point?
use the -8, 0.
Okay.
Why you circled it?
We're going to use -8, 0. So we get y minus what?
1 minus
Y minus
0.
0.
Equals
Negative 1/2.
times.
X plus X
Plus 8.
minus X1.
Plus 8.
Yes.
Y'all are
Alright.
on something.
Yeah.
Not me.
We need to chill out.
I don't know what you get.
If they want us to write this equation in slope intercept form, what do we do?
Solve. You
Solve. Solving it requires us to first distribute and then, well, once you distribute, you don't do anything with the 0. But anyway, so 1/2 times x, -1/2 x, and -1/2 times 8. What's half of 8? Yeah, -4. Now, writing this equation in standard form is something that we're going to work on in another lesson, and it's going to be its own lesson, so we're just going to skip that part.
Yay.
All right.
Hey guys, I think we're done.